It happened at my dad's 60th birthday, in front of 50-plus guests. He lifted his glass, smiled at me, and said, "You're adopted, Ethan, so I took you out of my will." People laughed like it was a roast. 10 minutes later, that same room watched him panic over shredded paper. My father, Graham, worshipped bloodlines and image. In public, he was the charming, self-made man with a perfect family. In private, he treated me like a receipt he couldn't return. He'd praise my brother Ryan and my sister Sophie, then call me the adopted one like it was my job title. If I achieved anything, he'd nod like I'd handed him the right change. The only person who ever made me feel safe was my mom, Linda. She wasn't my biological mom either, but she never used that word to cut me. When I was a kid, she'd sit on my bed and whisper, "You're mine. Blood has nothing to do with it." Then she'd kiss my forehead and go back to playing peacemaker downstairs because she never challenged him in public. By my 30s, I'd built my life without his money or approval. I almost skipped his 60th, but Mom called and said, "Please, just be there for me tonight." So I showed up anyway, early, and walked past the family portraits lining the hall. Dad everywhere, Ryan and Sophie everywhere, me nowhere. Mom hugged me tight and murmured, "Just smile and let it pass." After dinner, Dad took the floor like he owned oxygen. He bragged about legacy, sacrifice, and family. Business friends nodded along, hungry to stay in his orbit. Then he slowed down and aimed his smirk at me. "A legacy runs in the blood," he said, "so my adopted son won't get a cent." Ryan laughed. Finally, Sophie smirked and lifted her glass. My mom didn't laugh. She just gripped the tablecloth like it might keep her steady. I kept my face calm and stood up. Chairs creaked. Conversations thinned to whispers as I walked to the gift table and set my envelope in the center, between the watches and rare wine. Then I held it up for everyone to see. After that, I tore it straight down the middle. Next, I tore it again, slower. Then I ripped the halves into rough strips. After that, I shredded those strips into scraps. Finally, I let the pieces fall and said, "That was my gift to you." Dad's smile twitched. "What the hell did you just do?" he snapped. Ryan scoffed. "He brought a tantrum." Sophie added, "Pathetic. Even tonight, you need attention." I didn't look at them. I looked at my father. "You wanted to erase me in public," I said, "so I made sure you couldn't keep what I brought." Nobody laughed now. They leaned in. Dad stepped closer, staring at the scraps like they might confess. His voice dropped. "Tell me what was in that envelope." He didn't wait for an answer. He lunged at the table and started gathering pieces with shaking hands. Ryan and Sophie dropped beside him, taping like their future depended on it. Mom quietly moved to my side and brushed my arm. "You're not the weak one," she whispered. The taped scraps finally lined up enough to read. Letterhead, a notarized signature, a deed transfer. It was a commercial building I owned downtown, worth more than anything in that room. I'd signed it over to my father as a peace offering, and I revoked it the moment he announced I wasn't family. Dad went pale. The tape froze between his fingers. Someone whispered, "That's a deed." Another voice answered, "He just lost it." Ryan's mouth fell open. "That was supposed to be ours," he choked. Sophie stopped smiling. She just stared, hollow. My dad looked up at me like he'd never seen me before. "Why?" he asked, and his voice actually shook. I kept mine steady. "Because you wanted applause while you cut me out. So I showed you what it feels like to lose something you thought you owned." Guests avoided his eyes now. A few stood up like they suddenly remembered other plans. I leaned in just enough for him to hear me over the murmurs. "Happy birthday, Dad. Enjoy the gifts from the people who laugh at you." I walked out with my back straight. In the entryway, Mom caught up and hugged me hard. "I'm proud of you," she said. "It wasn't revenge," I told her. "It was reality." After that night, my brother vanished, furious. My sister sent one cold text telling me not to come back. I didn't. My father never called either. He didn't have to. Every time someone mentioned his birthday, all anyone remembered was him on his knees, taping paper, trying to fix what his mouth broke, and he couldn't.